Yeah. Yeah, we'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Anyone participating electronically?
No, not as yet.
You. And the next thing is to get a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor, one member of the public just signed in.
Okay. Right, so the motion is moved by Councillor Mick, seconded by Councillor Tiber. Be it resolved that this meeting agenda dated Monday, May 25, 2026, be adopted as amended to include new business item number 12.1, Councillor Ross berm on Matawan Street. Questions, comments? Councillor Gardner?
I just wanted to amend and add a motion of reconsideration for bylaw 2612 from last meeting. And will I have an opportunity then to speak to?
Motion of reconsideration and the
There's bylaw 26-12.
bylaw 26-12. Ask the clerk, so when, as soon as we accept the agenda, it's okay that he speaks about it?
No, we'll go under the notice of motions.
Notice of motions.
Under section 5, notice of motion.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'll read the motion over. Moved by Councillor Mick, seconded by Councillor Tiber. Be it resolved that this meeting agenda dated Monday, May 25, 2026, be adopted as amended to include new business item 12.1, Councillor Ross berm on Matawan Street, and motion of reconsideration, Councillor Gardner, bylaw number 26-12. Questions, comments? None? All in favor? Carried. Okay, anybody have a conflict of interest to disclose? If none, I do. I will be declaring a conflict of interest for item number 14. Item title is 14.2 personnel matters. I have submitted my my written statement to the clerk, and at that time I will ask the deputy mayor to chair, and I will excuse myself from the council chamber at that time. Okay, next we have presentations and delegations. And from what I have here, it's David Butler and Keith Harriman, creation of affordable senior housing for gentlemen, welcome, and so we'll let them do their presentation. If anyone has any questions, the cookies are out.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to come to speak. By way of introduction, my name is Keith Harriman. We have Dave Butler with us as the finance expert. And we have John Lees, the owner of Descom. As you're all aware, we are the consultant team to put together the housing unit, Rosemont Valley Suites. we are here tonight because we feel it's important to talk about finishing off the housing project. When we do our presentation to municipalities about these housing models we use, and we've had success in doing this housing model in about close to 20 projects in the north, is that there cannot be a cost to the municipality. But to do that, the debt that is incurred in the housing project, it has to be transferred to the nonprofit organization to get it off your books. Otherwise, there's the debt associated on your books, and obviously it makes it difficult for you to borrow money in other projects. So, that's the part that's missing in this project. We have the ability to do that, and we're asking for consideration of council to give us the authority to prepare a plan that can demonstrate how to get that debt off the books into the nonprofit organization, and thereby freeing up the debt associated with the town. But I'm gonna ask Dave, who's our expert on finances, to explain that. So I'll let Dave take over.
He's calling me an expert, but the council member thought I was an integrity commissioner. It's from Toronto, he's wearing his little jacket, what's going on? And I must look a bit like him, I don't know, everyone in town looks like this. But I'm actually from Ottawa, so it's good to be back again, a lot of familiar faces I've seen from before, and it's good to be back to try and see if we can help out with these, with this seniors project, because I know, being a finance guy, that there must be a tremendous burden on the town, and that kind of stress will translate to the tenants and just the stakeholders involved in the project. And one of the things you really have to do is get this debt off the books of the town, for sure. And what we're gonna try and do that is at no cost to the town as well. We wanna finish the project as we were engaged to start it and get it on its own, a standalone project that would help finance itself, right? And with a little bit of help from the town in the form of a limited guarantee. So now it turns out that step never happened, and a few years have gone by, and there's a brick wall coming because the banks are just charging interest right now, and you're managing to probably make the cash flow.
We're paying principal also right now.
Are you now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I'm not familiar.
Since last summer.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with that. Like again, nobody has given us any information yet on anything. We've not spoken to banks or to Descon or to anyone of the stakeholders. That would come after we got permission to put together a proposal for you guys on how we would mitigate your risk, get it off the books, and come up with a new nonprofit. So there's going to be changes in the financing probably throughout the next little while that may increase your costs, and there may not be enough cash flow there. We don't really know, but and I was surprised to see that something's getting paid off. So that's really good to see that you're paying something down. I don't know that managed that, but that's pretty good. And I know a little about the P&L. I know that there have to be some changes to the rental rates of it because they were initially really low and they needed to be adjusted up. So somebody's got to put a 7 or 10 year plan together and see where those numbers have to go. I understand there's been some still issues maybe with the roof leakage and so on, that not only is a leak, but it's costing more operational costs by fixing the inside of the building because of the leak. So there's little things that need to be adjusted. So we're here to say that we're willing to help. If somebody wants to ask us to do that, we're willing to come back with you to council with a full detailed proposal on how to do that and make that a self-sustaining, self-sufficient project. And really, we still have the cooperation of all the banks for various types of solutions like interest-free loans, interest-only loans, long-term amortization. We've got all kinds of stuff that the bank will sculpt the payments to match the situation. So on the finance side, I'm comfortable enough to say that we probably would have a solution for that. But I think the biggest thing is you got to get it off your books. The town cannot be in the business of running seniors' homes. You were kind enough to guarantee the mortgage payments, and that's all it should have been. It shouldn't have been ownership of the building, so that has to change, so. Keith, I don't know if there's anything else that I
Are there any questions, what are hopeful plans?
Is that the end of your presentation first, or?
Yes,
Yeah, great.
So council wants to ask questions, yeah? Councilor Devine?
This process, does this take very long?
we anticipate that because we've done this in so many projects, we could turn around in a month and have a plan back to you that could demonstrate how it can be done.
And that plan is going to alleviate us from the whole process
Correct,
Yeah.
and debt free from it.
correct.
Awesome,
So great.
you just made my day. That's exciting.
Any other questions?
Councilor Tiber?
No, I don't have any
I-
questions. I've asked all my questions.
Councilor Gardner?
Yeah, so in the model, they've typically used, so the town guarantees the loan. And then who has, like who, so a board, I'm assuming, is put into place. They control everything in the building, but the town's still responsible for ultimately the loan in the end. If the loan payment isn't made, then the town has to make it. So what say does the town have, if any, in it all?
That's a very
Or
good
guaranteeing
question.
the loan?
So, I think where you're going with this is that if the town is gonna provide a guarantee or limited guarantee in the mortgage, they wanna make sure that it's being run properly. So typically what we do is we establish the nonprofit organization board, which has representation on the board from council with what's called an oversight agreement. Is that if you're gonna provide a guarantee in the mortgage, through the oversight agreement, that you and the treasurer wanna keep an eye and make sure the bills are being paid and everything is managed properly. So that oversight agreement is part of the whole package that will be established with presence on the nonprofit board. You always have a council representation, one or two, you can sit on the board. I mean, yeah, you should, you have the best interest in making sure that it is run properly. That's the model we've been using in pretty much every one of our projects.
And one of the other things that we want to try and incorporate in those agreements is to get the debt reduced or the commitment for the town to be reduced based on the project's success or performance or being paid off. We want to reduce that amount of exposure for the town and try to risk mitigate it rather than always have the full blown guarantee. There should be a chance for the town to get out from under that over time, right? So we're looking at some of those strategies as well.
So then, kind of my next concern is like, so right now, like our rent amounts, like you mentioned, are much lower than what the building costs us to operate on a year-to-year basis. There's another project that it sounds like you guys are working on in a neighboring municipality that was in the news yesterday or today, and they advertised rent amounts in the one-bedroom apartments of $1,650 and 2 bedrooms going for $1,900. We're way less than that. What would be the immediate? How would you guys immediately pay the bills once the town signs it over? We're still guaranteeing the loan. Right now, there's a $70,000 deficit, $80,000 deficit per year on that because we're paying back the principal. So there's an $80,000 deficit. We were about breaking even at interest only. Obviously, you can't come in and throw everybody's rents through the roof overnight. I get that you can do it as people move out, you can slowly raise the rents, but that takes time. So in the meantime, 2026, 2027, how do we stop having to pay the check over to the building?
Where's the bank?
How,
So,
I just like to know, was the bank forcing you to pay the principal?
our term was up, so previous to this council, last council made an agreement, I think it was 3 years. 3 years interest only payments, or 3 years came up, it's time to start paying the principal. So right now, we're the taxpayers of Mattawa are subsidizing that building because we have to pay the balance.
So the easiest solution to that, there's a couple of different ways of doing that. Is that, as Dave mentioned, the banks have been really good at what's called stopping the payment. So we don't want to we don't want to kick the existing tenants out. But if there's a unit that's empty, raise the rents. Give the existing tenants a nominal increase every year to get it coming up. Meanwhile, if we refinance it through, and we've been using like TD for a good example, they're giving us 35, 40 year amortizations with fixed mortgage and sculpting the payments. Whatever the income is that's what whatever the rent's coming in, that's what the mortgage payments would be. So you're not in hole every month, so that, and then as you gain equity, it sort of balances out. So.
And then I guess just lastly, 5 years down the road, somebody decides that we want to do, or they want to do a $10 million addition or $15 million addition. That's been talked about lots. I don't think that it's a secret that that was kind of a hope or an intention for that property. What would the town's role be in that moving forward? We're committing to the $5 million or $6 million loan. We have no commitment to anything beyond that.
No, that's where it ends, right there and then. The nonprofit board has to convince council that they need to have an expansion because they want to have it. There's a need in the community, and are they willing to guarantee more money? Or are they going to leverage the equity that they have in 10 years, right? So that's a whole other ball of wax. I don't think you can commit council to any more than it's already there at this point. I don't think anyone's even wanting to go there. We want to get the risk away from the town, not add more risk. So that oversight agreement with the nonprofit can include language like that they're prohibited from expanding the project, and creating more risk for the town, without the town's approval, stuff like that, right?
I think I have one more. Then sorry, just let the pop.
Okay, that's fine.
As they register as a not-for-profit, what would the property tax situation look like? Like obviously right now we don't pay property tax to ourselves. Once this board becomes on its own, apart from the town of Mattawa, how would the property tax work and how does that work in other communities?
It's a great question. It's always the make it or break it question, because property taxes, I think on this hospital, before it was the seniors home, it was a long-term care facility, and their taxes were roughly about 100,000 a year, right? You can't stick 100 grand a year onto this nonprofit right now, but there has to be some grace period. But I do believe that everybody should pay their fair share of taxes in the community, and based on their situation. So there's probably a graduated system that we could work on, a grace period with graduated, so that when year 7 comes or year 10 comes, the cash flow is positive enough to integrate some of the property tax back in. I don't believe that it should be, but we do some that it's never any tax, and we do some where it's just grace for 10 years, like Noel, I think it's 10 years, and after that it goes in their CIP graduated formula, right? But that's up to you guys to suggest or talk. I will, as part of my financial planning, is to deal with the tax aspect. We're not trying to forget it. No one's asking for it for free, but it has to be dealt with. That's all.
One more, I promise. They keep coming up in my head as well. So I'll be blunt with the last one. Out of all of this, you come up with a plan, great. I'm always willing to listen to the plans. Doesn't mean I'm willing to commit to the end game, but willing to listen. What is the benefit for Dave Butler and Keith Harriman in this? What's your benefit from it all?
Well, the data we put together when we first put the plan together has to be revisited again, especially the finance cost, the estimated of the value of the building, and the refinancing of the whole package. Obviously, the banks and the appraisal, they're gonna charge us to do all of that. We're gonna put in a fee for our work on it, obviously, and depends on the time it takes, so.
And also, more important than that is our reputation. We don't want to be attached to any failures whatsoever. We've had 15 or 20 of these successful programs in Northern Ontario. We don't want one of them to somebody say I didn't work or something happened. French River or Wellville's been finished for a long time, 6, 7, 8 months, and I'm still working on comparative performers very based on actual. Still working with their board. We take care of a lot of trading liability, so it's important for us to the town's been very good to us over the last few years when we built this thing, and we know a lot of people here personally, and they're friends of ours, and so we. Yeah, we'll probably make a few $1,000 on through the banks or putting some time in on this thing, but that's really the benefit for us. Other than that, we're not gonna own it, we don't wanna own it, in fact, we can't find anybody to even buy it, so that's gonna be, it's gonna be redesigned for the community. That's what we hope to do, and it makes it self-sustaining and standalone, so you guys can forget about it. You got a board that reports to council. Committee or whatever you want, how you want to structure. We'll work with you, your lawyers. The lawyers' fees will be incorporated into the new financing and things like that, so.
No, it's always gonna go again.
That's
So-
what it
So is it possible that, like, we have 30, I believe we have 30 units, so say for instance, 4 people move out, is it possible to take 2 of those units and make them market rent and the other ones be affordable, so then that way it kind of balances it
Yes.
out?
Absolutely.
The board can decide on that, but remember, you wanna make sure none are empty, right? So you
Yeah.
gotta take a look at waiting lists and
Yeah.
people-
Yeah,
potential
true,
tenants and so on. You don't wanna price yourself out.
no,
You don't wanna cause conflict within the project, and you don't wanna cause nervousness.
Well, then the market rent should be what the market rent is and not.
exactly, not north, exactly, okay. Yeah, okay, perfect, I think it's fine.
Councillor DeVike.
Getting back to my first question, when I asked you how long would it take to get this project done? And at no cost to the municipality, the burden will be off our backs. But listening your questions from Councillor Gardner and yourselves, you're indicating that we're still going to be the guarantor for
Yes.
that building. So no matter what happens, it fall backs on us.
But it's not a debt against your book, that's the important thing.
So you're just alleviating the bank perspective.
Books and records, and what happens is, for you to have to make the monthly payments, that place would have to be empty. All at once, because you have an assignment of the rent, so if the mortgage payment wasn't being paid by the nonprofit, whoever running that. You can step in, run your oversight agreement and take the rent and make the payment yourself, so you will never have, it's almost negligible, you don't have to pay anything.
So my final question is. During the process that you have that board of directors that's gonna run the situation. Are we still in the position that we have somebody that wants to come and purchase it, sell it?
Yes,
Because we're the guarantor of it?
yes.
In the oversight agreement, I would behoove your lawyer to try and put some language in there that might give you those options. I mean, anything is possible, right? I mean, honestly, it's gonna have some value if it starts to be sustainable. It's providing housing and it's normalized, there might be someone. Like the DSAP, for example, may be interested, they might want some more housing stock, who knows? And I would not box yourself into a corner or paint yourself into a corner by not having options to be able to do that with your nonprofit. Right, so again, this is language that we could try and incorporate into the proposal, and then your lawyer will pick up on that, so I mean, it's you guys, it's not me, not us, it's deciding, you guys are deciding, we're just giving you some options that you can look at, and that we know that will accomplish the objectives, which gets that debt off your books, so you can go and fix the arena, or you can do other things, and you don't have that debt on the books. And that your risk mitigation is better, so there's more control of what's happening with that project, and you don't have to worry about, you don't have the capacity to start worrying about managing that place. Quite honestly, town should not be in the business of managing senior housing.
Okay, one last question, since you're a financer for this organization, is that. The guarantor is the town of Mattawa.
Correct.
How does that affect our borrowing power? Would that be marked against us, or is it gonna limit us for projects?
You know, we if the nonprofit owns it and you are the guarantor, it's what they call a contingent liability. And it goes on your books and records as a note, but not on your balance sheet. And there's been a lot of controversy about this over the last while about, is that correct or not correct? So we've gone to great lengths to get the Ministry of Housing and many KPMG, many large auditing firms to provide written correspondence to substantiate that stuff so that you'll know it won't be us just telling you that we'll have backup, that ARL, we call it, your annual repayment limit, will not be affected by moving this ownership to the nonprofit.
I'm not worried about that part, just the part for the town
No,
acquiring
moving it
funds
off.
for a project, that's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, that's all I have, worship.
No, that's the big objective here, is get the risk off the town. That's what you
Yeah.
want, right?
That's good enough.
So the ARL, you talked about it, that's our concern, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, and it's not only limited to this project, it's also Castle Hole. It's also all the boards that we contribute to and everything,
Right.
you know? So it is a worry, like it or not, you know, and I would have to see the words, you know, that specify, that guarantee that, you know, those doesn't affect our borrowing power, even though we borrow and something happens, we're deeper in, because we still have the whole thing on our back. One question I have is, during your presentation, you made the comment that the town can write off their debts on a not-for-profit organization. But what did you mean by that? So we can still run a deficit, pay for it, but we get to write it off on, because we have a not-for-profit? Like it just pretend it didn't happen
No,
and
but
then
first of all-
someone else pays for it?
Your worship, I first of all, I wouldn't recommend transferring or doing anything until we have a complete financial plan that actually works and is sustainable. And it'd be contemporaneously done by the lawyers in the town all in one day with the banks and so on. And they will have reviewed the cash flow out and they will have agreed to the financing, and they will want you into a negative position. So we're gonna transfer it at the same time. So there won't be a case where the nonprofit goes in the hole and the town has to subsidize it. I mean, that's a big statement, but that's.
Okay,
we don't want
but it's something that
happening.
has to.
That's never happened in any world.
And then you made the comment, I don't know which one he is, that along the way it fell apart. Why did it fall apart?
We don't know, the board, I think the board was dissolved,
Well, the board was dissolved after nothing was happening.
well, I don't know why it never finished. I don't have the answer to that. We were going along, ready to do the next step and nothing ever happened, so I don't have the answer to that.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not here to throw anybody under the bus.
no, I just need some answers, and my final one, we've got other irons in the fire right now.
Sure,
And I'm sure you're aware of it.
yeah,
From another dealing that we're trying to
Yeah,
do. So you know, I'm personally, as my vote, I'm not prepared to yea or nay this tonight. You know, there's a lot of work and a lot of communication that has to happen yet. You know, and we have to know where we're at with the other options. And I'll leave it at that. If you want to comment on it, you're more than welcome.
No, well, we're just here to simply help out, and we could be of a service to the town and provide that. And if there's a better alternative, the town is flushed out from other community companies or neighboring or any other ways, then we're just as happy that it works out for you. We're not here to hold your feet to the fire at all.
Councillor Tiberi?
I know we're asking a lot of questions, and I don't think you can answer the question until you come back to us with a proposal. All worked out with the banks or whatever, so, you know, we could ask you 100,000 questions, because we're sitting up here, we're nervous. We're trying to run our community or municipality and trying to do it at the best of our ability. I am willing to make a motion to authorize, like just what it says right here, I'll make a motion to authorize the consultants to prepare and carry out a detailed transaction plan for Rosemont Valley Suites and return back to council.
And I will second that.
Councillor Gardner?
What would the cost be if the plan comes to the town, something else happens, we sell to somebody else in the meantime, we decide not to do it? At what point, like obviously your time isn't free, so what would the cost be for you to develop that plan?
So we've taken a very cursory review of some of what might happen within this model. And it all depends on a lot of things. One, is the roof still leaking and do we have to fix the roof and incorporate that into the financing? And so we need to get permission to talk to like Descon or talk to the banks about the interest rates and agreements and stuff. So there's a lot of information. So this could be $100,000 that we have to inflate the mortgage, or it could be 10,000, or it could be nothing. Our fees are negligible, you know, in that, like, we're talking about increasing, you got lawyers' fees and you've got, you know, bank fees and stuff. So you're talking about increasing it maybe $200,000 to $300,000 if you're paying for the roof at $100,000, right? So we don't really know. Again, Councilor Hubert mentioned that we'll never be able to tell you till we get in there and talk to the people, but you cannot afford any more than that. You can't have a $7 million mortgage. It just won't work. Like, we can't add money to this thing just for the sake of adding money. We won't add any money so we can help it, right?
So I get that. If we go through all the way, I get that there's piles of fees and stuff like that would come. I'm saying, you're saying you need a month to come back with a more detailed plan, more of what does that cost us for the next month to come back and say, this is the total package, yay or nay?
Zero. This is exploratory right now, and we're saying a month, but if you pushed us and it was an emergency, we could maybe 2 weeks, like if we just dropped everything. But it's a nice digesting period, it's a month, 30 days, we probably can get to a pretty formal package if you allow us to talk to Descon and allow us to talk to the banks. So we could incorporate the real story, because we might have to get proposals from other banks if that one bank is not gonna give you what you need to make it sustainable. So yeah, it's gonna cost you nothing for us to come back to you with a detailed proposal. The only thing is that for us, the risk is we give you a detailed proposal and you hire another company to go and do the work.
We wouldn't do that.
And I know you're the people, and I'm saying it out loud, because that's everybody's view, right? But we trust you guys, proceed. And if that happens, so be it, right? I mean, you know, you gotta trust in people and trust in faith, and that's us, so. But that's what you'll get that, won't cost you.
Just so you're aware also, last fall, we did put $100,000 into the roof.
Oh, great, okay.
Okay, so the 1/3 that wasn't fixed got fixed,
Okay,
but
perfect,
it's still leaking, so.
okay.
Is it because we waited too long? I don't know. We're waiting, someone is, I don't know if they're doing it right now there, but they're gonna analyze it and come back to us and tell us what the issue was. So the town did put 100,000
Okay, great.
towards that roof.
Wow.
You know, so when I read that, I said, obviously they don't know.
No, we don't know,
Yeah.
nobody's talked to us, we're in a bubble,
Right
right?
now is the chance, so if whoever's investigating comes back and says,
So we had a company that came to, we put it to tender. They were awarded the tender, they went up there and then they told us, well, it might be more. Well, it might be, is it, you know, well, we'll do this and then we'll know later. And then I heard that it's still leaking, so is it because the roof was saturated? Is it because more was not identified? I don't have that answer. But a big chunk of it has been done.
Thank you for that information. One question I did kind of have is that maybe the elephant in the room is that there's some money that was paid to buy the property in the very beginning, I mean, roughly 250,000.
Yeah.
And there's some of it, or most of it's probably paid by now, and
No.
25,000 a year.
$10,000 a year for 25 years.
Okay, so my question is, should we consider that as a payout in the new financing to recover that money for the town? Is that something that you'd be interested in?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, remember that.
Absolutely, and then you're saying you're gonna bring a proposal at no cost to us, like.
Correct.
That's,
Yeah,
I'm willing to look at it, but I want you to be aware, you know, and not say, well, you know, we have other irons in the fire.
Sure, no.
And I want you to know that.
We're not sitting here high on our horses, we just wanted to come and have a discussion, that's all we have right now, and see if we can help out.
And all your projects that you've been involved in Northern Ontario, you said you did quite a few of those.
Yes.
You ever come across where you were working on one that somebody was interested to buy?
No,
No? Maybe that should be a new avenue in your department.
well, because they don't make any money, that's simply why.
That liability won't be on the town either.
Right, it's just that if you, I could afford to buy this, but I wouldn't right now because I would have to go in my pocket, right? So no reasonable business guy would buy it. But if it was rents were 1,500, oh yeah, maybe I'd look at it right now, right? But it's just not like that. So in most towns, the rental rates are so low that no private guy will buy it other than a government. Right?
You know, there's room for 90 more units in there.
Oh, yeah.
Second floor in addition to the side, but that's an incentive for somebody to look at it on long term.
Yeah, but how many people, yeah, so again, we have to look at the need, right,
Okay.
so, but anyway, all good points, Counselor, just.
Okay, maybe if staff would like to throw in and.
First of all, thanks for coming.
It's always good to see you.
Same here, sharing some information, in your proposal, can you include in there a little bit as to, who the perceived new owners of this NBO will be?
Yeah,
The
sure.
council should know that, yeah,
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 I guarantee it's not any business person.
yeah, no, that's fine,
outside,
just-
it'll be. Run and run by a nonprofit from the community, it won't be,
and.
and we'll identify.
And then two, and I think you summarized it well at the end there, and I'm glad you did. And I think that's where council and the town needs to, will need to come to terms with, because you were very clear that, the town won't bear any costs in all of this, endeavor. However, there are costs.
They're constant, their own has to be complete.
Yeah, there are real costs, there's legal costs incorporating, there's legal costs to running the corporation, and just so we all know. RVS is cash neutral, it's not generating cash, it's breaking even.
Correct.
So any dime that is spent on this goes right to the debt, and you want to refinance the debt. To have more favorable terms, extend it to longer amortization, increase it by 200,000-400,000.
Increase the rents.
And then that's the risk that we're already on the hook for 5.6, now we're gonna be on the hook for 6. You know what, so we need to
I
understand all of
understand
that.
it.
And but looking to forward to seeing the proposal, and lastly, would want you to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
Allowing you to speak
Absolutely.
to all the parties. that you speak.
Absolutely, not a problem.
Thank you.
No, it's all, thank you.
There's a motion on the floor.
Adjourn.
Shouldn't we be voting on the motion that I asked? Your worship?
Well, you mentioned something about you're ready to,
No, I said I'd make a motion to authorize a consultant to prepare or carry out a detailed transaction plan for Rosemont Valley Suites and return back to council with the proposal.
And I second it.
And Fern seconded it.
someone's gonna write it, please.
It's written, I was waiting for you to end your discussions. with them.
So we're done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Presentation.
Pleasure to see you.
Sure enlightened us a lot. Thank
On
you.
a great day to look at the weather, right?
Mhm. So, can they see it?
More sandbags, more sandbags from the beach.
The staircase or any management related questions.
Your worship, can I have a couple of minutes just to say goodbye?
Want to wait for the motion first, please?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
So the motion is moved by Councilor Seaver, seconded by Councilor Levite. Be it resolved that council authorize the consultants David Butler and Keith Harriman to prepare a detailed transition plan for Rosemount Valley Suites. The plan would outline the steps, responsibilities, and timing required to support the transfer and long-term sustainability of the project. And further, that the consultants return to council to present the plan for their consideration.
Recorded vote, please.
Questions, comments? None?
Counselor LeBlanc,
Yes.
Counselor Tiber,
Yes.
Counselor Ross,
Yes,
Counselor Mick,
Yes.
Counselor Gardner,
Yes.
and Mayor Maloney.
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Could I be excused, your worship, just for?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to adoptions of minutes. I need a mover and a seconder for. So the motion is moved by Councillor Ross, seconded by Councillor Mick. Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of May 19th, 2026 as circulated. Questions, comments? None? All in favor? Carried. And notice of motions, Councillor Gardner.
Yeah, so my sorry, I've written here, so my motion for reconsideration for bylaw number 26-12 was the bylaw from last meeting to approve the budget. So I think we're all aware of what happened here last week and how that budget process played out. To my surprise, it didn't pass after passing with a 5-1 vote at the previous meeting that it was discussed. It was my intention to bring forward my concerns and make them known and kind of prove my point. I think it's quite clear. I dug my heels into the sand quite a bit on both times we had the conversation about it. It died at a 3-3 with 6 people at the table. I sat with the mayor, I sat with the CAO, discussed it with some other staff, had kind of a week to reflect on it. So basically my concerns, a lot of them revolved around I really want to push for a 0% increase. That's something that's important to me, important to our constituents, something that I campaigned that I was going to do, and I voted consistently to no increases throughout my term. I had concerns about wanting to see Ottawa Street budgeted in there as a project to do in-house. That didn't make it in there. I've since talked to staff and it sounds like we have some irons in the fire that might alleviate the concerns in the water distribution down in that end of town and all over town actually. In the meantime, as a stopgap to get us by until we can get some funding to do that project. NORD's funding was announced later on in the agenda, so I also raised concerns around the process, the budgeting process, and how we went about it. And it seems like we haven't, in 4 years, come to a consecutive or a consistent, process and how we kind of come up with these budgets. We've gone from one extreme of literally throwing a number out there and going with it when we had no financial records to the other end of it where staff are presenting the budgets that they are now. I think it's quite clear that being it was defeated last week that at least half of council isn't kind of happy with the process and how that's worked out. And with the mayor's recommendation of coming up with a policy and that kind of outlines how we go about this in the future, that kind of satisfies that concern for me. I really want to be a part of that. If we decide to have a group or if we do that as an entire council, but come up with that policy for that with staff. And and lastly, my biggest concern is that it's a 2.1% increase that's proposed right now. Not happy about it. I can live with it. It's less than inflation. I'd love to see zero. If we go back into the budgeting process, there is the there's the chance that it can go higher. There's the chance that Matt can come with his wish list and everybody else can come with their wish lists, and that number grows from 2.1 higher. At least right now, I can live with that number. I can't live with anything above inflation. So, I still love to see 0%. I'd still love to see us change our process. I realize that we are cash strapped as a municipality. We're rolling into June. We're halfway through our year and we're approving a budget that's probably already half spent, realistically, because you're allowed to spend up to 100% of last year's budget, if I understand correctly. So we're spending already, and I think we need to put some guidelines in as to what we're willing to spend this year. My last concern was the fire department. I had some conversations about that with the CAO. I have my opinion, and you'll see where the 2027 budget, if I'm at this table and the rest of the members at this table are still here, but we'll see how those conversations carry forward in the next budget for the next council. So I thought I'd bring it back up, realizing that it was such a decisive thing for council, and honestly, it was a shock to me after going 5-1 that it dies 3-3. I think it really makes us look like a bunch of clowns at this table. I think our opportunity to express those concerns was when it was brought to us the first time, not when it's brought up by law. I think that makes us look really silly. So I was consistent with my vote, but there was other members that weren't consistent with their vote. So bringing it back for council to decide what they wish, and if it dies again, then it dies again, and we'll start the process over. But I've kind of told everybody my thoughts on.
Okay, Councillor Ross. Oh,
Sorry, but if we're kind of bordering on talking about the budget bylaw, so you should pass the motion for reconsideration.
Okay.
At least move it and second it, and then continue a debate. If
Okay.
you're going to accept the
So,
reconsideration.
you're moving it?
I'll second it. And I wanted to record it.
A little point of clarification, if I may. Don't we have it in our bylaws that we can't bring things back to the table until it's a year past?
No, not a
Did we-
reconsideration.
Did we remove that language?
No. No,
You can
it
do-
does still state that you can do a motion for reconsideration at that same meeting or the next subsequential meeting.
Perfect, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember thinking I didn't like that language in the bylaws, so it's good we massaged it.
Point of clarification has to be from the prevailing size. From the losing side.
So you're on the, or no, I see, gotcha.
Okay, yeah, that was a good point. Okay, so I have a motion. It's moved by Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Levite. Recorded vote was requested by Councillor Levite. Be it resolved that the matter relating to the 2026 operating budget bylaw number 26-12 be reconsidered. Questions, comments? Councillor Ross.
So it was a little bit of a lengthy process before when we had our budget. But at least it went by your department and you went on the line items and you knew what was being said and so then you could see what you were considering. I don't know whether that might be worth looking into for the next time, because that seemed to clarify a lot of things, so people knew exactly what was going where, and no, we can't afford to do this year, but we're gonna definitely put as a priority for next year, so that might be helpful.
So back to policy.
Yeah,
Councillor Levite,
I tend to agree with you, but next year's budget, if we're still here, is that when we're ready to process it, I think we should indicate to the administration, what are you looking for? Do you want a zero budget, or give us an indication why you're giving us a 1.2 or 2.4 or whatever it is, because of the seriousness of the budget that is required to operate this municipality. And they did a lot of hard work on this. They spent hours on this. I've already talked to the CEO, also I called him, and I wanted to know what are the chances, like, to please Mr. Gardner, by going to a 0%. By taking the three major departments that we have and divided into that 51,000, looking at their items that it's not really necessary to purchase, or they've already had purchases, but you would have to get guidance from council to proceed that way. But now that he has a motion of reconsideration, let's see what happens.
Councillor Tibet.
I feel that staff did put a lot of time in on this budget. And I'm sure that they cut it back as much as they could, and maybe not in the areas that we felt that they should. But I'm sure, I don't think they could have gotten any less. I don't think they could have went to a zero budget, you know, so I have all the faith in staff that they've done their job, and, you know, and that is our new bylaws and our new procedures say that we're not, well, we're involved because you have to pass it, but we're not involved with the other part of the work. It's on staff to do that. So that's all I gotta say. I think they did a damn good job with budget.
Councillor Nick.
Yeah, well, I agree in the sense that I appreciate the work staff's put in. But I don't think I will be changing my vote, just because I do believe like the budget approval is one of the biggest parts of our job, right? You know, as counselors, we're in charge of spending the taxpayers' dollars. So I think it is, on top of putting the budget together, the responsibility of everyone to make sure that everyone is comfortable at this table passing it, and is aware of how things were justified and the questions are all answered before it's brought to the table. And I kind of felt, compared to the past, that it was a little less transparent in how things were done and how we came to these numbers. And again, I'm gonna, I know, risk becoming a single issue counselor here, but I would like to see some funding put towards the library getting opened up again. You know, consistently our taxes have gone up and the services have gone down. So I'm not going to be voting to approve this budget, but I appreciate the process moving forward.
Can I just say one more thing?
You certainly can.
Sometimes it is helpful also, instead of it says like a 2.5 increase, that an actual number is attached, so that people realize their tax bill is going up by $50, or your tax bill is going up by $25 or $100. So it gives a better perspective for the community, the resident, to know exactly what kind of increase they're looking at. No, we used to do that.
That's in the bylaw, right?
What would that be? Sorry.
The exact, like the average increase per household
At a 2 point, whatever it
at
is.
a 2.1. Cause I know we mentioned it, but I don't remember if it was in the bylaw itself or
No,
if it was just in discussions.
it's not in the bylaw.
Okay, so that was discussed and those
Okay.
numbers were shared, I
Okay,
know that. And in the budget itself, yeah, 2.1's there, but what's 2.1? That's there also.
okay,
And you know, the municipality advertised for the public if they wanted to contest the
increase.
the budget. Increase or decrease or whatever, no one submitted anything. When we had it at a meeting. Councillor Gardner's point was receipt, you know, it wasn't purposely done, but we did it in in a committee of the whole meeting, which there's no questioning from the public at those meetings.
Oh, yeah, that's.
But
Okay,
we did it last meeting, even though it was defeated, and the people that were present had an opportunity to question, and again, there was no questions. I would like to make a statement on I don't, that's where we defer, Councillor Gardner and myself, zero is not realistic right now, because here's what we have all these services here. And to provide these same services, well, the inflation is 2.8. We managed to squeeze it at 2.1. So it's either we go to zero and start
cutting back.
chipping away at all our services, and maybe, we can save 100,000 1 year, and we quit cleaning sidewalks during the winter. And I'm just throwing examples there. But to maintain a certain level of service, you need a certain amount of money. And when we 2 years in a row that we increased our budget below inflation rate, I think that's a pretty good track record. That's my and final thing that I'm gonna throw out there. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Ross, and before it used to be a week event, and you discuss how much hydro for this place, how much hydro for that place.
Mhm.
And as a CEO at the time, I thought it was a waste of time. Hydro is hydro, you're gonna have to pay just how much hydro we pay. That's per department, and that's so I think we had all those lines. We had them long enough to make comments, and if you choose not to make a comment and approve it at a vote of 5-1, and then we turn around at 3-3 and it's defeated. So maybe it's not what it used to be, but are we all putting the same amount of work in looking at the numbers and making our point? And if you're dead against something and you want it, you gotta come to the table and you gotta make your point.
Yeah.
And that's why we're elected.
Mhm.
And if we choose not to do that, and then just, well, I didn't like it, and then all of a sudden I'm changing my vote. It does make us look, I won't use the word silly, but
Undecisive.
undecided. So I think we talked about it enough, so we'll, everybody had a chance to speak, so. Ready to go.
Okay,
So just so I'm clear. If this vote passes, it's a reconsideration, that means the bylaw would be approved.
right next, that you would pass, like, get a mover and a seconder to forward the motion to adopt bylaw 2612 as it was presented at the last meeting. It's the exact same motion, and that's what you guys will be voting on right after this reconsideration. You debate it, you vote on it
So it's coming back right away
right now,
Right now.
with the ratios and with the,
No.
okay, good.
just.
I just wanted to be clear.
Consideration.
Okay,
Okay. Counselor Louie,
Yes,
Counselor Gardner,
For clarification, we're voting not on the bylaw, we're voting for
You're
the
voting for the
reconsideration.
reconsideration.
Okay, yes,
sorry, your vote,
yes.
Counselor Mick,
No.
Counselor Teeber,
Yes.
Counselor Ross.
Yeah.
And Mayor Maloney.
yes,
Motion is carried with a recorded vote of 5 yeas and 1 nay. So now we need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the bylaw.
I will.
second.
Mhm.
Okay. The bike and Ross.
Also recorded, please.
So the motion is moved by Councillor Levesque, seconded by Councillor Ross. Be it resolved that council of the corporation of the town of Mattawa adopt bylaw 26-12 being a bylaw to adopt the 2026 municipal operating budget.
Questions, comments? None?
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Ross.
Yes,
Counselor Teeber,
Yes.
Counselor Mick,
Nope.
Counselor Gardner,
No.
and Mayor Belanger.
Yes.
The motion is carried with a recorded vote of 4 yeas and 2 nays.
Thank you. Okay, correspondence. Section 8.1, École secondaire catholique Elisabeth Bruyère, request for graduation bursary. Question, comments? Councilor Gardner.
Elizabeth Briere is the secondary.
Yeah.
What year were we in with the,
For last year.
this is the last year?
Yeah, it was the term of council.
Okay, so we've already committed to doing something for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the Sisters of Charity there. Yeah.
Yes.
Your worship, can we do all this in one motion, like, if we're gonna give monies to these, or can we do it all in one motion?
We don't have that in our rules of procedures, do we?
You never normally done a resolution, you just directed staff how much to provide.
Okay, so the one, 8.1, we're all okay with that one?
Yeah.
I committed to the term of council. 8.2, Saint Victor's Catholic Elementary School, request for graduation bursary. Councilor Gardner.
Can I ask how much we've done in the past, if any? For St. Victor's, I know that it's an elementary school.
St. Victor's.
$250, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Not for
that
elementary school, I think it was 50
I thought it was 75.
for them and 100
One's 100.
for the
high school.
high school. 50 for elementary. and
There you go.
Typically what it was.
Okay, Councilor Tibet.
I guess I was $150 off.
so you got,
Further question or?
No, I don't have any more cases.
Councilor Gardner,
I'd be okay with giving $100.
everybody okay?
Yeah.
Okay. 8.3, FJ McElligott Secondary School, request for graduation bursary. Same thing, Sisters of Charity there, last year for a term of this council. We're all okay with that?
Yep.
Councilor Gardner?
Before we move on, are we going to? Our next meeting is in time. I'm just thinking like there's another school. I just don't want it to seem like we're biased and we're sending money to St. Victor's, but we're not doing the same for Mattawa Public, or we're not doing the same for
St. Victor's.
St. Anne's School, right? Like,
Personally, if we keep 50 for elementary, 100 for high school, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's what we have been doing for years.
They all get the same.
But there's no request from them, eh? From St. Anne's or the public school, they didn't.
they might be just late doing it. No, they don't do a request?
I can tell you in my time here, we've never had a request from those particular schools for one.
But we gave them the bursary anyway.
No, we did not.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And we might see it in future correspondence.
Okay.
Might be late though. Be very close.
Clarification, please, so
Yes.
is it 150 or 100 and 100?
No, 150.
I thought, same as last year, but I think it's 50 for elementary, 100 for high school.
If that's the case, then.
Over and above the Sisters of Charity commitment that this council made. Okay, so 8.4, Phenom, response to Auditor General report. Questions, comments? Page 8.5, Aqua, post severe weather event update. Any comments, questions?
sorry.
Aqua 8.5.
Yeah, I did have 3.5. Just some questions for staff. It said that the 1,101 Bissett station spilled over and we had to pump that into the river with a or not a manual pump, but a sewage pump. I noted that or Aqua files all the proper environmental forms and stuff like that, but do we notify residents when that happens? Like, I'm just thinking, like, if we're sitting there pumping here and kids are swimming there, does that, like, do we notify those people, put signs at the beaches and stuff like that? I think that that's probably something we should do every time that we have to spill over.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so there are signs at the beaches, for those types of events. Those signs at the beaches are managed by the Conservation Authority. And it's basically when there's a heavy rainfall, it's use at your own risk at any of the beaches. When we have an environmental spill going on, let's say an overflow at a lift station, it gets reported to the ministry, but no temporary signs go up at those locations. Follow up to that?
Yeah.
So as part of that process, do we notify conservation authorities since they manage the signage at the beach? Do we notify them that there's a spillover?
The sign stays up all the time. Right, so the sign's always there. If you go to Fraggle Rock Beach or if you go to the island, there's a sign that says use that caution at heavy rain. Right, so but there's nothing that pertains to the fact that there's a spill happening.
Okay.
And it's not a requirement, but I get your point.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Should we know it?
I just think on an average day, the expectation is that you're swimming in river water, rainwater, not sewage being disposed in there. So I don't know. I think I'd love to hear if my kids are swimming where we're pumping that into, but I get it. The signage is there, so just something we might want to look at. The 101.
Just while we're on that, didn't we do that last year during the summer? That we put out a notice somewhere of an event like that when one of our pumps went? Like I recall that we did something like that during the swimming season. Right now, we're encouraging people to stay away.
Yeah.
You know,
There are people swimming.
that was
On 7th Street, it was.
May 18th. So
Good to continue?
Yeah.
Okay, the 101 first and Bissett Station pumps, it sounds like we're having some issues with those. Do we know yet what the approximate cost to replace is?
It's being looked into.
Okay. And then do we have anything on like record that, and it might be part of our asset management plan, I can't remember, but for the lifetime of our pumps, do we have anything that, we expect this pump to last this long and we should look at replacing it at this point? Or do we just wait for the inevitable to happen and to stop working? Like, I look at some of these pumps and like we've seen it last year, we spent over $200,000 in pumps. So it's like, we have these asset management plans for things like vehicles that cost a fraction of what these pumps cost or half of what these pumps cost, and machinery that costs less than these pumps, but we seem to wait until it's catastrophic failure for the pumps before we look at replacing.
Yeah, so our consultant, in this case Aqua, they have a running 10-year budget. And in that 10-year budget, they identify specific station and specific assets in those stations and when we should replace them. And then we take their recommendation, because it's by year, and we put those in the budget. Unless we really think it doesn't need it for whatever reason, but and then council approves the budget. So typically they focus on the electrical panels in those stations because they're around about 50,000 each. And the pumps, as we know, $92,000. The pump's a little trickier because they have like a 40-year life. So is it at year 20 or year 25 or year 30? So as we get close, and Aqua says you should really put a pump in, and we tend to put the pump in the budget as it happens. But we got caught last year with 2 dying in the same year.
Well, and 2 more now, right? So we're at 4 pumps.
Yeah, we don't know that those are different situations, but
those are much smaller, a lot cheaper.
Right. Still.
Yeah.
Unbudgeted, unexpected, right? So, the backup generator options, like, we kind of seem to run into this often, and I know that it's expensive to go and put a backup generator in there. Are any of these stations, are we able to service them with portable generators? Is it an issue of the phase of the electricity that's there, or is it, you know, can we put a, for lack of better words, a Generalink on the side of the building and plug a generator into it in those emergency needs?
Yeah, so it varies at the stations, right? And the design that previous employee was working on was the ability to go to those stations and to plug in a generator as needed at the stations that received the most flow, let's call it. So we do have a station that has a generator that's offline. We have a temporary generator located there. And we're in the process of, we've applied for some funding to help alleviate some of the stress and some of the situation that's created by at the bottom of Sixth Street. You'll notice that the generator handles the sewage pump. We won't notice that because it just happens, but it doesn't handle the stormwater. So that's an electrical retrofit that has to happen. But as for the other stations, we do have generators there and they do run, and just not at every station. And yes, if, you know, back to Paul's point earlier, there are electrical panels that need upgrade to facilitate your need to be able to plug in generators at the station. And you know, in an extended power event where we lose power, we can have overflows, but it's very rare. Like the last couple of years where we've had pump failures, that's a whole different beast, right? It's not necessarily power failures, it's pump failures.
And then usual times, I know this, 11th Street, First Street, Louis, like they're so deep and underutilized that a sucker truck will do, once a day or once every 3 days even. And that's another option.
That was all.
Okay, any other questions, Councillor Ross?
So at the beach, if I remember correctly, the sign says that the water is not tested. Is that what the sign says for people that are concerned?
It doesn't say that yet, so that's a good point. So the conservation authorities are no longer responsible for each testing.
Okay,
So the signs are gonna get updated, but what the signs do say is to avoid using the beach during a heavy rainfall.
okay,
Because they do get contaminated and there's the potential for them to be contaminated.
okay. So is there, yeah, okay, that's good if it says that. Is there any way to just throw up on the website?
Yeah, we can put an alert.
Yeah, I know that would, then that way people kind of know. So, like, I'm sure nobody's gonna be swimming anyway, however,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely something that has to be thought through, just because it's Aqua's responsibility to notify the ministry has to be aware. Just that whole process
Yeah.
has to be worked out, but we could do something to that nature.
perfect. Okay, good, thank you.
Councillor Levesque?
I think that if it's a sewage spill. And the river goes back and forth, all depends on what happens to down there, but the Shawshank closed, the water backs up. Goes up the Mattawa River and the Otto Holden is open, so. The backup brings the sewage up there, and I think. It'd be our responsibility or our negligence of not notifying people that. We had a sewage backup, you do not swim in this water. For at least 24 hours, till the circulation of the water in Mattawa and Ottawa River has been diverted down the river. To be safe. Because if somebody goes swimming there and they get really sick and pick up some bacteria. I'd feel really awful to see that we are negligent of not informing them or have a sign put up. We have public works, people who are driving in their trucks all day long, they can stop by the order of the CEO or you and just put it up. And then go back 2 days or a day later and take it out if you figure that it's already gone by. That's my concern, and I would like to see something like this come back forward to council to put it in bylaw that we need to be more responsible to protect our kids. Thank you.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, 8.6, Ministry of Northern Economic Development and Growth, Nord's funding announcement. Questions, comments? I think it's great news. Nord's is what provided us the funds to reconstruct the Dorion Belanger Road curve. So just to give you an idea, over 5 years, $440,000. So, and no match from the municipality, that's 100% money, just has to be allotted for roads. Road construction, that kind of stuff, and I'm sure they have other limits, but as long as you fit under their limits. Councillor Gardner.
I was just gonna speak to it later, because I think it comes back in a report later, but
It does.
I had a question on why I was budgeted for this year, but then I read the report and I think it only starts in 27. There's no Nord's funding for 2026, correct?
Yeah.
Well, you have to apply, don't you? You can apply.
You've already told us what our amount is, so we have to let them know what we're gonna use it
Yeah.
for.
And if we don't use it, it stacks.
North, well, was stacked, I haven't seen the new agreement yet.
The new agreement. Okay. .7 Phenom, Health Showcase Northern Ontario this summer. Questions, comments? None. 8.8 City of Pickering, Edges School Board Governance Consultation Process. Questions, comments? None. 8.9 AMO Advocacy on Bill 98 and potential amendments to Police Record Checks Reform Act. Questions, comments? None. 8.10 Township of Metachewan, call for action for justice protection of Canada's children. Comments, questions? Councillor Gardner.
So I've read it, and basically, if I understand correctly, they're talking about use on children and sexual offenses on children. And I think we all can agree that it's appalling, and from what I gather, they're asking for support to encourage our provincial and federal governments to get harder on these things. Is that
Harder on crime, yeah.
well, specifically these crimes, right?
Yeah, it's bail sentencing provisions, parole and early release, sex offender monitoring. It's beef up the the law.
I would like to support that, I think.
Anybody else?
Sure.
Want to bring it back next meeting, please?
I agree.
Okay. Information reports. 9.1. Police Service Board, report number 26-22R. The report from our CEO treasurer, Paul.
Thanks, your worship, this is more along the line of my treasury function. Having recently received the bill from the Police Service Board, and I was quite shocked actually, and I shared this with Councillor Ross, and her too was the same thing in her words, is only one voice on that board. But if you flip over to appendix A, I mean, the picture says 1,000 words. And you can see that from 2001 to 2016, we're paying $500 a year. And then the modest increase to $780 for another 7 years. And then when they introduced the new act in 2024, we jumped to 2,500, a 223% increase, which is drastic. But the logic was, well, it's a new model, and so we bit the bullet and we approved it. And so we thought, okay, well, then the increase is over. Last year it increased another 32%. And it was like, okay, well, where does it stop? And we complained, but we fell on deaf ears. And then unbelievably, this year it increased another $3,000 or 89%. Then at some point we say, well, when is enough enough? And it's not that it's $6,900, I mean, it's, or $6,300, sorry, but it's more the principal. And so that's why it made me wanna flag this for you. And then start looking at the individual items in there. And then I flagged them there, I don't have to read them all, but some of the ones that are more troublesome is you know, we're paying the treasurer each month for 12 months, but they only meet once a quarter, so. You know, I think that could be looked at. The fact that there are bursaries to post-secondary schools. So really, they say the board's giving it, but they're taking the money for the municipality to give it. Municipalities already give monies to school, and so I think, you know, that I'm supporting that practice. Or the citizen of the year kind of award, and they don't call it that, those are my words. But that was an issue. You know, whether you want to spend money on speakers or not, I mean, it's a nice touch, but it's something to consider. The venue costs, I really don't see why, if we're supporting the police service board and there's a group of four, you could have one meeting in each municipality, you could have one here and one at each town hall, and there's four of us, 4 meetings a year done, no money has to be spent. And then reserves, we're not allowed to build reserves as part of the budget, but yet they want to spend $300 in reserve. And then the last kicker was that in their calculation, last year our bill was 3,300 or 35% of the whole bill. And this year it's over 50% of the whole bill. So obviously they have different mechanics of how they calculate it. And so I'm just pushing it back, and you know, there's not much recourse for municipalities, unfortunately, under the new Community Safety and Policing Act. But accepting the budget, as Councilor Mick said earlier, is a role of council, and council does not have to approve the budget. There are limited mechanisms, one to push it back, and I'm flagging what they are, the request for conciliation. Then you can go to binding arbitration. In the whole process, you can even recommend a budget to the police service board, which in my appendix B, I kind of take out the things that I talk about. I don't take out a lot, but I bring the budget down from 12.5 to just under 10,000 to 9.9, and so it brings their share down to 5,000 as opposed to 6,300. It's still a huge increase, but at least it's a start. And I thought we could work through our rep and bring our concerns forward. And
So if I may interject here, your question was, we used to pay 35% and why 50? Well, it used to be on weighted assessment.
now,
You know, like we got 2 municipalities that receive $400,000 to $500,000 every year. You know, we don't get that. And that's why they pay a bit more. And my understanding is that was brought forward by Dean
Mhm.
on your board.
And he did that at a meeting when I was not there.
Yeah, so maybe that should be brought back, that every other board that we're part of is a weighted assessment.
Yeah,
I know that Calvin's gonna have a meeting tomorrow night and they're fighting that again. Well, I'll pay more if we can get that $400,000 or $500,000 a year. Like they get money that we don't, so does Papineau Cameron. So that's why they pay a bit more. Us and Matawan don't receive those gifts, so that's why it's built like that. That's how it is at Castleholm, that's how it is at Conservation Authority,
mhm,
that's how it is in all the boards. So I think it's something that should be reversed,
I agree.
and you're in a perfect seat for
Yeah.
it, you know, it was done while you weren't there, so.
Yeah.
Reverse it again.
Miss a meeting and see what happens.
Anyways, sorry, Paul, I cut you off then.
all but done, just so my recommendation is that our concerns and the proposed revisions be brought to the board through our representative with the goal of having an amended budget approved. If unsuccessful, it is further recommended that conciliation with the province be initiated. Failing that we consider binding arbitration.
And it's there for the paper. So I'll let Councillor
Oh,
Roscoe
sorry.
first.
Okay, so I did get some clarification on some things. I was able to get some answers. So the clerk treasurer. The secretary treasurer. Was given to us by the municipality of Papineau Cameron. So she does not receive any funds. So because she has to, all the policies and procedures had to be rewritten. The website had to be done, that had to be monitored. Emails are, she has to take care, answer all the emails. Do any correspondence, also corresponding with other police service boards and collaborating. So they have been given the 14 off of their levy. She does not receive the money. That comes off of their levy. So I found that out. So the other thing that is being looked at is if we are allowed to fundraise. So if police services board is allowed to fundraise, that will be perfect, because then we can actually take a lot of that off of all of the municipalities for sure. Then there was one other thing that they had talked about. And I just want to see if I can find it. The reserves was not actually reserves, it was for unforeseen circumstances. I did advise them that our share is gonna go down because we are no longer at 2,500. We are at 19. So they are aware of that. So when we do have our next meeting, I am gonna bring it back to have the
The weighted
wage
assessment.
assessment, yeah. Absolutely. I'll be bringing that. Yeah, so I got a few answers. So. That was one. Okay.
Councillor Levite.
So you're gonna represent corporation at that meeting?
Oh, yeah, I am representing.
Would this be possible? For all that a motion or a letter from the council supporting her and put our concerns in that she could read it out there?
I can bring this.
She's got a report.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
I can bring the report because it's public knowledge. I can just bring the report.
perfect. And see what happens from it. Thank you.
Councillor Gardner.
Yeah, so my first question was, when we started using population versus the weighted
Assessment.
assessment values, because in every other metric that we use, we always use those assessment values. So I was kind of surprised to see the population used here. If you're going by population, I think it's we're a group of 4, and if we're using population, town of Mattawa will pay the lion's share.
Mhm.
And it benefits 3 other municipalities, so my guess is that you're gonna be outvoted. But if you use the 2021 census, then
Some of the others are what?
we have 53% of the population, so they're not far off. Papineau is 27, Mattawa has 4, Calvin has 16, so I don't necessarily agree with how they're using population. But that was my take on it. And then just some of the things in there, like we could be of assistance of, and I don't know why they haven't, I get wanting to be independent, but like it's the Mattawa Regional OPP detachment board, like they're paying $400 a year for a Wix website. Could we incorporate basically all they have is their policies and their board minutes on their website. There's nothing else. Could we incorporate that on our website? And save some of those, or get a discount of $400 like Papineau gets for their clerk. Liability insurance at $4,000. Like
That's the cheapest.
what do they need liability insurance for?
The board has to have liability insurance. It's something new that the act has dictated. It has to happen. We all have that, and we have shopped around for insurance, and that is the cheapest.
Is that for each individual board member?
It is the board as a whole.
As a whole?
It just seems crazy because from what I understand, the OPP doesn't even insure themselves. They just self-fund their insurance.
But we're dictated by the
lawsuits
act
and
to
stuff
do
like
it. Yeah,
that, right? So-
there's so many things we're dictated by, and even to do the community wellness plan. I actually looked into that, and we are not allowed in any way, shape, or form. The minister has informed us we are not allowed to take that by the hand and run with it. It has to be the municipality. We can be part of the think tank, but we are not to take the lead on that in any way, shape or form. Yeah, yeah, so, but there's some things that unfortunately, since the act has come out, we're just like, it is what it is.
And what we don't mention is that we also pay $685,000 for policing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know this is
Yeah,
peanuts
yeah.
compared to it, but
still.
you know,
Yeah.
add that to the picture.
Mhm.
And that's only our share in Mattawa.
Yeah.
Like it's 1.25 million for the 4 municipalities.
Mhm.
Councillor Bear.
I was just wondering about that liability insurance,
About the what?
the liability insurance.
Yeah.
Is there some way that that all the police services board could apply to one insurance company for a cheaper rate?
I think they have, to the best of my ability, but my knowledge, yeah,
Did you check that out though, just to make sure?
yeah, but I'm like 90% sure that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's been looked at because we were just appalled at the rate.
Well, the act states you need it, so
Yeah,
they're not gonna.
they're
use
not,
it.
yeah, they know that.
Was that it, Councillor Seager?
Yes.
Councillor Mick,
Thank
any
you.
questions or comments?
I'm in support of, seeing if we can get a better deal, sending it back with, Paul's recommendations. It's hard when your hands are kind of tied, right, when it comes down from the province, but, you know, and
See what we can do.
I appreciate your comment about how it's kind of peanuts compared to the actual fee we're paying for police services, but
Yes, start somewhere.
start somewhere exactly, you know,
Mhm.
you know, we gotta kind of push up, I think, while we can, and any.
And policing will go up 11% next year.
Right.
Gee,
Oh, 11% every year for.
Oh, yeah, well, that's for sure.
I do have a question, I suppose though, we could find the mandate for the police services boards through the act, that must be online, right?
I would imagine.
Okay, I'll do some of my own research, but that's.
Can I ask one more question, Richard?
Yes, sir.
The forgot my question, and that's funny. Platinum Cameron, are they, their new population now, they were going on a 900 or 800 some population in 2016 census. So now their population is up around 11 or 1200. Is that what this is based on? Is their new?
That I don't know if they've used the new census, I'm not 100% sure, I
Their
will ask.
their sign does state 1100, I believe,
Yeah.
so,
I think it's a little more now.
because they were all. If it's 1140, they go down to 11. If it's 1160, they'll go to 1200.
Okay, let's go, let's pretend it's 1160.
Well, that's administered by the MTO.
Yeah. Okay, that's a question that should be asked if they want.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll find out.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I need a mover and a seconder. Seconder. So moved by Councillor Levite, seconded by Councillor Tiber. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Mattawa receives report number 26-22R titled Police Service Board. Final question, comments?
Recorded, please.
And do we need a motion, or are you? Are we okay to just direct Paul to throw out
The next motion.
Okay,
I think that the this $6,000 should be taken out of our $685,000. Maybe we should make that recommendation.
That will work.
Well, I mean,
You can.
God, they're slapping
No,
us
no,
like,
look at what the Solicitor General sent us. You cannot question what
Yeah,
David was,
I know.
period. So,
I know.
and,
Why
and,
question?
and strong mayor powers cannot overrule they've made that very, very clear. So, okay, so.
I think we should anyway.
So there was a recorded vote requested by Councillor Levite.
Councillor Levite,
Yep.
Councillor Tiber,
Yes.
Councillor Ross. Yes. Councillor Mick,
Yes.
Councillor Gardner,
Yes.
Mayor Lalonde.
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously.
Now, what we've been talking about, a motion for Councillor Ross to be able to go back to police board. I mean, you mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Mick, second by Councillor Gardner. Be it resolved that council approves the proposed police service board revised budget as prepared by the CAO treasurer attached to report number 26-22R. And further that council directs Councillor Ross to bring the proposed revisions to the budget to the police service board as well as the council's concerns stated within the report. Questions, comments? Okay. Gonna call for a vote. All in favor? Carry. And next is 9.2 updates from town hall. Report number 26-23R. Report from the CEO treasurer. Paul?
Yeah, just some brief updates from town hall. Obviously, front and center, the state of emergency was declared by Mayor Belanger back on April 30th. The local authorities, at least the water monitoring and water level monitoring authority are in the North Bay Manawa watershed still as a warning. In this part of the world now, it's been dropped to an outlook. So we may be in a position, and the mayor may be in a position to change the emergency, state of emergency, but that hasn't happened yet. As far as our expenses and claims under MDRA, we have been in contact with them. We've opened up a file and I put down there to be eligible to submit a claim, we have to exceed 3% of our tax levy. So for us, that's about $75,000, and we'll be in excess of that. So we are eligible. They just have to say yay, and then the province funds 75% of that first 75,000, and then 95% of everything over the 75,000. And then just to add insult to injury, we had the windstorm on May 18th, and I haven't gone to the landfill to see the pile of brush, but Dexter it's got pictures, and it's pretty considerable. It's considerable, and probably $50,000 into shredding. Considerable. Anyway, we're opening up a claim, as I said, with the insurance company, and our deductible there for insurance is 10 grand. So anything over and above that, we're in excess of that. And we're still in the cleanup stage, and we'll still leave the landfill open this week for people to bring the debris from the damage.
Yeah, sorry, 10 to 2 every day again this week, or
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Thursday,
Thursday?
and then back to normal operation after that.
Is there a question?
About that, yeah.
Yes. Those who had their trees cut off and put on the side of the road, the town's not picking those up, are they?
We will be.
You will be? Yeah. So, I mean, you'll have to make sure they got chainsaws because they're full in, see? Okay, thank you.
I had a question on that one. Okay. Did we separate the all of the brush and stuff that's been brought in because of the storm? Like, are we going to be able to claim the fees to grind or to take care of that in our insurance claim? Because we'd have to kind of have that separated and say, this is how much, what's our quote for it, you know? Like,
We'll plan to have that included in our insurance claim.
okay, so I know that's the significant cost is every time we do that, it's huge, so.
Exactly. Okay, anything else on that?
No.
Castle Hall. This has been topic of discussion at this table for quite some time now, but we have began receiving the capital levy and we have really no choice but to pay them. And so we're gonna start doing that. It's pretty negligible right now in terms of what it can be, but the information that we've received is that'll balloon to $62,000 a year, probably starting maybe next year. So we have 2,600 well, quarterly, so times 4, so just under 12,000. But then next year, when we're trying to just remember that when the budget comes, it's 62 grand we gotta make. And that's what we're trying to get out of the operating levy. The landfill, just so you know, we still don't have an agreement for the landfill, despite progress in the talks. We've kind of talks have kind of stalled, but there's a report later. And I think this agenda. North funding, we talked about. I've been told that it's the same amount that we used to get for the 5 years, including 2025, so it's $87,000 a year. And apparently that is not apparently confirmed, sorry, that is now permanent. And it's not just roads, but other infrastructure, and I think, and I'll confirm that the water is included in there, so we may be able to use Ottawa Street, for example. Little update on Voyager Days, tickets have been around the 600 ticket level, which is not great. We sold 150 on the weekend, so now 750. So as our radio blitz are gonna start to kick in, I'd expect that number to grow. And maybe hope, but remember, we want to get to 2,500 to 3,000 tickets.
Come through the chair, please.
Can I ask him a question? Is there a lineup that's gonna be put in with that commercial?
Yeah.
So people can decide if they.
Yeah, the radio stations have been great at promoting.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Absolutely. So, yeah, so all those music acts have been booked and confirmed and deposits paid. And we're looking to line up some entertainment at Annie's Park as we've done in the past, and a whole bunch of stuff at Timmins Park. And everything's organized and ready to go. We just need their people to come. Town hall renovations are pretty well all done. There's some screens that have to come up to here. They're over here in those boxes. They're gonna come up and then we can live stream our meetings. We'll put a nice wooden curtain. We talked about that in front of the council table. So that has to be done. And the last thing is the reception desk. That hasn't come in yet. The counter in the business center right here. And we're going to install that soon. And as far as our projects, Main Street Connecting Link project. So just, I'm flagging this for you because some of you may think that the actual hardcore work is going to happen in 26. It will not. All the designs and permits and all the authorities will be done and looked after and signed off for construction in 27, and everything will happen in the calendar year 27. The reservoir, it'll actually begin this summer because that we've incurred some costs on that, as you know, through GP2G. And that'll soon begin and we'll start going on that. Engineering will be a big part of that too, but it'll be nice to get that project done.
Question here?
Yeah, sorry. Did I hear right? Is it just the engineering and stuff that's gonna happen on the reservoir this year? Are we actually gonna see shovels in the ground in 2026?
GP2G can answer that better than I can. I don't expect to see shovels in the ground.
Okay, do we expect to have a tender out in 2026?
I would think we would. There's multiple tenders that we had, right?
Yeah.
So there's the tower itself, and then there's the water, and there's, you know, the slab, and then all kinds of different parts. Is $6 million worth, right?
So just the reason I'm asking is, if this council becomes lame duck, at what point do we, how does that process work for
Yeah.
tenders? Like, we can't approve tenders, right? Or we, and you know, in
We'll
a
have,
situation, but.
we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it and decide, yeah. But there might not be any major contracts to approve during that period, but don't know. And yeah, so I've given you some For the town's parts are gonna be on the insurance and stuff on the on those damages. And that's pretty well what's been happening at town hall for since last report.
Questions for Paul? None, I'll need a mover and a seconder, please. And a seconder. So moved by Councillor Ross, seconded by Councillor Gardner, be it resolved that Council of the Town of Mattawa receives report number 26-23R titled Update from Town Hall. Final questions, comments? None? Okay, all in favor? Carried. The whole business, library proposal, anything you want to bring forward, Councillor Mick?
No, I'm gonna take it down one more meeting, a week that away from me.
Okay, I made you aware last meeting that we did have a stakeholder group meeting and Paul, did you contact him? Yeah,
I believe I sent you an email on the results of that.
I'll take a look.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure, if not, I'll send a follow-up.
yeah, if you did, let me know.
there was some requests from groups, so.
Yes.
11.2 Rosemount Valley Suite rental rates from report 26-16R.
I don't know if we should put it off and let the
Yeah.
consultant come back.
Take it off the old business?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk? Okay. 11.3 2026 municipal operating budget bylaw that was taken care of. So that can come off. And 11.4 and 11.5, the tax ratios and rate of taxation, that'll come at the next regular meeting. Okay, thank you. New business, 12.1, Councillor Ross, berm on Mattawa Street.
So. I've heard that there is the likelihood that people would like to see a burn on Madeline Street. And if that is what people are thinking, then possibly council should look at maybe talking to our engineers of service and having them draw up a possible proposal to have an actual proper berm installed, something that is well constructed. We could maybe use some of our leftover rock from Dorio, but it is properly done, it is properly landscaped and looks nice so that this other sand and rock and stuff can be gone before somebody breaks their neck going to fish. And we have our nice grass back and that you can sit along the river and actually have your lunch and it looks good because this looks horrible.
Well, I'll just, first of all, you're all aware I've been asking that we consider doing a pedway. Joining Turcotte Park
Yes.
to the downtown. This is 3 times now that we build. This is gonna happen maybe every second and third year,
Yeah.
so we can't be doing this every time. I'll tell you what I've done, I've had one person approach me, probably the same person that approached you. And I told him if I have anything to do with it, it's staying. That was my answer. It's nonsense to take it out, put it back in, take it out, it's money that we can spend elsewhere. I've already sat with our MPP and cause the last time we were forced by Conservation Authority to remove it in 2019. Which we had to anyways, it was on the road.
Yeah.
It's not on the road no more. Does it look bad? Yeah, right now, cause it's not finished. You're saying we can use the stuff from the Dorio, that's all from there.
No, but what I'm saying is when you make a proper berm,
Okay,
the big rocks and you would have a walled berm.
yeah, so that's a base and we. Like I told you, I've spoken to our MPP. Our MPP is pushing that up the line to Minister Dunlop, which is
Emergency preparedness.
emergency preparedness, and there's funding there.
Okay,
Okay, so that's going up the ladder right now. So, yeah, I agree with you, it doesn't look good right now, and the plan is to make it look good.
okay.
But are we gonna remove it just to put it back again? Makes no sense.
Well, the thing is,
That's my opinion.
okay, the thing is, if you want to put an actual, if you wanna do a pedway, that's fine, and if you wanna put an actual berm. Then let's look at how they're actually built, because the waterway, for instance, is here, you take the walkway, you build the berm up to keep the water aside. You can build your other stuff up to make a pedway if you want, you can build your landscaping, but it looks proper, it's not just built with rock and sand like that, it looks proper.
It's not gonna stay like that, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, this is not gonna stay like that.
It's not gonna stay like that.
Finish.
Okay,
It's going up the ladder to the ministry,
okay,
and we're gonna get some funding,
okay,
okay, and turning it into something that's appealing.
okay,
Okay, but it might take a bit of time,
okay,
you know, so that's what I'm saying, so until we. You know, let Minister Dunlop deal with it, she's having a meeting with Fidelity, you
okay,
know, and we've already applied this to meet her delegation. So everything's in motion right now. So is it gonna be fixed tomorrow morning? Absolutely not. But you wanna spend another $75,000 to remove it just to put it back? You know,
I just wanna, it'll
well,
fix.
anyway, so that's
And what about the road, that's like the stuff that's on the road and it's,
oh, that's gonna be moved, that
okay,
the Fedway's gonna go behind the lift station.
okay,
It just, we couldn't because the water was up against us. We had no choice there.
okay,
That's what happened there.
Once it's done.
And further down, it's not staying there. That has to move closer. You
okay,
know, not on the trees to kill them, but closer. But we need our engineers to look at it.
yeah,
We need the government to come through with the funding, which I know East Ferris got $165,000 to do a trail.
okay,
So we're doing under the flood mitigation program, emergency situation. I think our chances of getting it are excellent.
okay,
You know, is it gonna change the landscape? Absolutely.
okay.
But every year when the river comes up, we'll have something to hold the water back.
Good.
Yep, because we can't keep doing this
Mhm.
year in, year out. And while we're on this, the reason that the state of emergency is not lifted. And I know it's tied into it, is we're still told that we're vulnerable.
Mhm.
So tomorrow we're supposed to hear again, that they're supposed to put a new weekly
Update.
Update,
you know, and we'll take it from there, you know, and if they tell us we're still vulnerable, well, you know, you can't. Today, we're in a state of emergency, tomorrow, we're not, oh,
Yeah.
now we are, you know, so. And that's why I've been hesitant to take it up, they would have guaranteed us no more, you know, and. Last week from the Ottawa River Regulation Committee, we heard that things were normal in Manawa. Park and the island are still underwater,
Mhm.
so that's not normal,
no,
you know, so I don't know where they got their information, but.
just a question, is it Fisheries and Oceans that controls the Ottawa?
No, it's the Ottawa River Regulatory Board. And that is a partnership between the province of Ontario, province of Quebec, and the feds. So it's yeah,
So if there was ever a possibility of considering a dredge, who would you have to go to, that board?
I went to that board in 2019. The answer I got, be careful, it might be cheaper to move Madeline.
Oh, there we go,
That's the answer.
that's the answer? Oh,
And they had 12 people up in the front. Half of them were engineer, half of them were lawyer, all with straight faces.
and that was.
And they told me, Mr. Belanger, this is not a multi-million dollar, it's a multi-billion dollar enterprise. And it might just be cheaper to move the whole town. So okay. I don't want that.
No,
Anyway, that'll make it
Okay.
speak. Councilor Garvey.
Yeah, I think we keep going back to that because they can say what they want. It's their responsibility to come up with a solution for us. You know, if their determination is that we buy out all the properties that are susceptible to flooding, then let them do that and move those people to
Higher
to higher ground, yeah, so, I keep fighting that battle on that
I
front.
have been.
I don't,
For
yeah,
10 years.
because I don't necessarily agree that it would cost billions, but, you know,
No.
they, maybe we'll get the people of,
It's in Pepino Cameron, so maybe
EAU
Matt
to
will
come
pay
over
for
and
it.
show us how to dredge. I agree with Councillor Ross that I want to see something done there to make it look nice. I think that there's a lot of people that live down there and it looks terrible. People drive through town and it doesn't look great. I get that it's very short term. In the long term, it sounds like we're working to making that a little bit nicer. You know, permanent protection would be nice, and not having to keep doing this over and over. Kind of nice. I mean, they're covering the bill, so you say like we keep spending money, but they keep paying us. So, you know, it's not costing us anything really. It's their
Oh, yeah, it's
right?
costing us. They don't pay us back 100%.
Was it 100% up to 75,000
No, they
and
paid,
95 after?
they paid the first 75% on.
Okay, sorry.
75,000.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was
95,000 of everything.
Or sorry, I thought it was 100% up to 75,000. Okay, sorry. And then lastly, just I get that that's gonna take time. In the meantime, are we going to you know, send staff by there to make sure that it's a safe area? People are gonna continue to use it for fishing and, you know, walking and stuff like that. Are we gonna make sure that we clean it up, you know, the best that we can without removing it for the time being? For
It's
some
already, the
season?
kids are already climbing over there and it's only a matter of time before something gets hurt. It is.
So,
So what are we doing about it?
well, I would just, like, I haven't even gone to look at it myself, like I've driven by it, but I haven't walked over the wall to see the other side, but I would just ask that if we haven't already, that staff make sure that it's in a decent state for as best that we can get it for the summer season.
Councilor Levite?
I agree, and I think your firm should be right to the edge of the embankment. So you can get the full use of the whole area. You should have a parking situation between the road and the berm, so people can park their car and they have a place, a picnic table. I know it takes time, gotta apply for the grant, put a plan together, and over the next few years, hopefully, it's all done. And your words about lifting up the emergency, I wouldn't do it either anyway, because I go to the dam every day to deliver it. And some days they got 4 open, sometimes they got 5 chutes open, and it doesn't take long for the water to rise. So I don't know what Miscamangue is like right now in the watershed, but I know there's still more coming down, so. It was a good idea just to keep it on for now until you're sure.
Nope.
So I,
See other comments? Councilor Mick?
Yeah, a couple small comments. I wonder if it would make sense first to throw this into old business, because it seems like it's something that is gonna be ongoing and deserves our attention. The reason why I think so, I tend to agree with Councillor Ross that, and you know, around the table, that this seems to be a more frequent event that's been happening more and more often. But I do think it's important to keep in mind that like our natural beauty is, you know, arguably our biggest asset here in Ottawa. And the rivers are a huge part of that, right? And I think we've identified this for a few years now, that corridor specifically along the river has so much potential for something being so beautiful. So I would hate to, you know, we have had proposals from JP2G before about setting up permanent berms, but they weren't really cute and they seemed kind of dangerous, you know. And it, you know, it's funny, but it's true. I think our natural beauty is our biggest asset, and we do have to preserve that, right? So it's got to be cute. That might cost a little more money, but I think it deserves the attention that we could give it. So I guess all that to be said is I think this deserves our attention. It's not necessarily an emergency at this point, but it is an eyesore, and it is our tourist season coming up, and the rivers are part of that. And then reaching out to JP2G, I know they have done some drawings for us before for berms. I remember, oh, if you remember seeing there's those steel sort of
Yeah.
waffle board things with those big concrete rocks in them.
Off the river.
Yeah, but it blocked access to the
Yeah.
river and it looked like an industrial
Yeah, it
yard,
didn't.
right? You know, where I don't think that would necessarily be appropriate. But again, what we're kind of talking about, whether it's a headway or a boardwalk or a permanent berm, you know, this is gonna be some serious cash and we're gonna need some help
Absolutely.
from the higher ups, you know, yeah. So I guess, yeah, if we can make sure we're following up on this, it'd be, I'd support it.
We'll move it to old business.
It's okay with the folks then?
Counselor Tudor.
I just finished hearing. The mayor saying that he's already contacted the minister, they have meetings set up. They're trying to get a proposal from K2.
JPPG.
I haven't spoken to them about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's what you said earlier, you were gonna work on that.
Yep.
So it's already being
Mhm.
in the process, so we have to wait to see what, you know, and I'm sure the mayor will get back to us with whatever he's finding out. But it's already done, it's already started and, you know, and I'm sure it's gonna look pretty good by the time it's all over, but it's gonna take time, that's all, so. Anyway, thank you, your worship, for looking after that, taking the initiative.
Can I
A
ask you
little bit of funding helps.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
The Lions Fishing Derby is coming. Is there a way that we can put some light sand on top so nobody trips in the rocks or hurt themselves?
Something we can talk to the staff
Oh,
about.
the staff,
What can be done.
Right. Because we usually get about 160 kids there, so. All right, thank you. Talk to you later, boy.
Can I be you go to the?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so. I guess that's the end of that one. We're going to. We're gonna wait for Laura. Okay, questions from the public pertaining to the agenda. Number 13. Yes, sir.
Correspondence 8.5, I was surprised. to See that we don't have any generators. That this was free. I thought we had generators at all of our stations. So what are we doing about that? Why don't we have generators there? I thought the director's response there, but is there a process right now to make sure we have generators at all these stations?
I can answer it a bit. When I was in the field doing that kind of work, some of the stations did. Some of the stations still have permanent ones, and some we were able to take a portable one but some of those have control center, if you want to call it.
What?
Control center or panel board.
Control center.
Electrical panels.
Okay.
That are so outdated that they can't do anything with them. And that's what our treasurer was telling us, that Aqua has a 10-year capital expense program. And they're all gonna be developed one at a time. Actually, the one where the 2 pumps went last summer, that was supposed to be the first electrical panel. But the pumps gave out before they could get around to it, so sometimes things could move around. But I know years ago, the ones that could be, we could connect them to a generator, and some of them you just could not.
Do we have a cost on, say we want to get them all done now? We have an idea what that would.
I have no idea. Yeah, we can look at the 10-year Aqua proposal of what we spend at add it all up, maybe. That's a good idea, and that's a document that's public if you wanna.
Or maybe ask them. How much does it cost to get this done now? Because we don't really want to go through that again. You definitely want power over pumps, would you not agree?
As much as possible, yeah. But again, you know, like, it's money, and where do you get the money?
Other people, just ask.
Out of people, okay. When we tell you your taxes are going up 30%, you're gonna be happy with me.
Well,
No, but that's reality though, right?
I know.
Okay, because that's the only source we have.
Well, this,
The only source of income this town has is the property taxes.
so if they, but what if they come back with an affordable amount? See, this is what I was getting at.
That's in the 10-year plan, and if it needs to be expedited, that's something that council has to decide on, not me personally.
Okay.
Councillor Gardner?
Yeah, so I asked that question earlier, and you know, if the sites that don't have it can be retrofitted now. And it sounds like it's an electrical board or a electrical panel issue. I wanna say it's 50,000 we're budgeting per site for the electrical panel replacement, right? So I don't know how many sites we're talking that don't have backup power now, but if they're talking that kind of money, and I don't know what generator requirements we have, but that's what we had budgeted in the 10-year plan. It was like 50,000 per site for all the upgrades. Yeah, and I don't know what that entailed. That was just what was in the document.
Well, then. Okay, I have
Any other question? Yes?
Yeah, I have one about the berm. The berm was built with all the rocks that are up above, right?
Yeah.
So. What was the purpose of that? And the reason why I'm asking is because the water, we're lucky that the water didn't rise the way it was going throughout. Because it would have went through the rock. You had, no, you can look at me the way you want, Mr. Mayor. You had the.
Get to your question, please.
The question is that. We spent so much money on the berm. The berm wasn't really safe. It wasn't really protecting us. It was just a front. There was nothing to stop the water coming through the rocks.
That's your opinion, and my opinion is totally different. If someone else wants to answer that, please. As I feel right now, it's all directed right here. If you guys want to speak up on it,
It's directed to everyone.
you ask your question, you're gonna get an answer.
Thank you.
I gave you my answer.
Yeah.
Councillor Levite.
Observing, it could have been higher, I agree. But the thing is, it did work to a certain degree, where it was a low area and closer to the Madawan's apartment building. There was a low area on that side of the road, but it never reached beyond that. Because the berm held a portion of it. Up further, your property is going up higher towards Turcots, so it didn't reach there. It stayed within its bank there.
We were lucky not to get the water that we were supposed to get.
If the water would have come over, yeah, if the water would have
Okay,
been over.
I'm calling this, you got
I
an
just
answer
want
too?
one.
Cause this is not a question, it's not an answer, it's an argument. right
No,
now.
it's not an argument.
I think myself personally, the berm worked fairly well. We had a few leaks, right around the pump house there and up around Sid Turcot's Park. But other than that, I think the berm worked perfect. It worked perfect
Alright,
with a few little leaks, that's all. But it could have been better. It could have maybe.
For your information, the
Sure enough.
leaks were groundwater.
Yeah.
It wasn't going.
No, okay,
It
I'm
was
sorry.
groundwater.
Okay.
Councillor Gardner.
So I guess the answer from council is that we trust and have our contractors and staff that put that into place, and I'm no burn building expert. So I think that we trust staff and the contractors. I think there was quite a few contractors there working. The fill was free. I don't know what gravel's going for these days. I know that when we did it in 2019, I was there around the clock. We laid thousands of sandbags there, and then filled behind it, and they had rock over top and more fill, and it didn't hold everything back, but it gives you a fighting chance to pump the water that does make it through back over. And we've seen that down at the portage. So a lot of it was groundwater coming up, but if anything was seeping through the berm, it was giving a fighting chance to pump it back out, more so than just all of the water coming through. If you can stop 90% of it coming through, gives you a fighting chance to put the other 10% back over instead of pumping 100% over. So like I said, I'm no berm building expert, but I guess we would have had to react quickly if it didn't hold back what we expected, but we also had access to those
Ladders.
the bladders, bladders that are filled with water. I guess those could have been used as a secondary had we had to get there. From what I understand, those are free from the province. We just have to request them and they come, so it would have been a lot, but I guess as a secondary barrier to try to take away that seepage that did get through, we could have used those if we had to get to that point, but I think, I don't know, again, what gravel and stuff is going for these days, but it was sitting there. Wasn't being used, it didn't cost us anything to truck it in. I don't know how many truckloads, maybe the director can give us an idea on how many truckloads went in, but I'm thinking like, is it outrageous to think $500 a truckload of gravel? Like, it's probably more, but.
Yeah, so you're upwards of 500 loads and about 75% of what was there came from Dorian Road, so stuff that already had. The stuff that finished the second 2 feet from Main Street to the beach. That was pit run at about $280 a load plus time, so yeah. So we're about 500 loads there.
Are we subject to a grant for that or help? Yes.
That's part of our indirectly.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Any other questions? None? Okay. I need a mover and a seconder to go to a closed meeting session. Okay, I have a motion moved by Councillor Ross, seconded by Councillor Levite. Be it resolved that council proceed in camera. Pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended at 8:12 PM in order to address the following. Item 14.2, personnel matters under personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Item number 14.3 and 14.4 under litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or local board. Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Not here. Okay, so I have a motion here moved by Councillor Levite, seconded by Councillor Ross. Be it resolved that regular meeting reconvene at 8:56 PM.
Oh, excuse me.
Questions, comments? None, all in favor? Carried. The next motion is moved by Councillor Tiber, seconded by Councillor Mick. Be it resolved that council agrees to continue the regular meeting past 9 PM as per policy, not to go past 10 PM. Question, comments? All in favor? Carried. And moved by Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Levite. Be it resolved that this council proceed in camera at 8:57 PM in order to address the matter pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Question, comments?
There are no personnel matters as well.
One.
Still has to be.
And B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Question, comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, I have a motion from Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mick, be it resolved that the regular meeting reconvene at 9:39 PM. Questions, comments? None, all in favor? Carried. So we went into a closed meeting to discuss multiple items, some personnel matters, litigation matter, and a report on the Mattawa landfill site update. And one resolution came out, and we're gonna read it very shortly. I need a mover and a seconder. So I have Councillor Mick and Councillor.
Maybe you better keep my name off it.
Yeah, Robert be mad.
So the motion is moved by Councillor Mick, seconded by Councillor Gardner. Council directs the clerk to make a request to the council of the township of Papineau Cameron at their next regular meeting of council to be added to their agenda for a discussion about the Mattawa landfill site with Mayor Benanger, CEO Treasurer Paul Leterrier, and Director of Community Services Dexter Sarazan. A recorded vote was requested by Councillor Levite. I need to know if there are any questions or comments. None?
Councillor Levite,
Yes.
Councillor Mick,
Yes.
Councillor Gardner,
Yes.
Councillor Ross.
Yes.
Councillor Teeber
Yes.
and Mayor Belonde.
Yes.
Motion is carried unanimously.
And the final motion moved by Councillor Ross, seconded by Councillor Levite. Be it resolved that this regular meeting adjourned at 9:41 PM, sorry. Question, comments? None? All in favor? Carried.
Should always vote with your own hand.